160, and there's about a $30,000 upgrade to the prize pool if you also win this match.
It was 150, John. It was 150.
I swear someone said 160 earlier.
I got the Liquipedia up right now.
All right, well, clearly you're right, so.
Come on.
My bad.
Amateur hour here.
Like 2 devices in front of me, don't even have that
That's
open.
true. You've got the dual monitor set up for like casting. It's crazy. First ban on the board. M80 banning Nomad. DarkZero sometimes like to just set up those air jabs, go for those nice little structured, strategic half pushes, set up the air jabs to make sure you can't retake. That actually would be very useful for, say, a dining attack, for example. You just want to open up the dining wall and then just hang back on the heaven balcony instead of pushing forward. Be very good. And DarkZero will ban out the Ying. Now, you might be wondering, hey, they used a lot of Ying the last game. Are we sure that they're going to be okay here? And John, to be honest with you, CJ mentioned their attacks on Chalet against OXG weren't great. I got to say, I think that Ying might bite back them if these attacks have not improved.
All right, well, let's see if that will unfold itself. Defender bans, I'm expecting to stay pretty much the same here. There has not been a whole lot of deviation from them at all here today. It's kind of flipped a bit. It used to be pretty straightforward for attackers. Now the meta is pretty straightforward for defenders most of the time on the bans, but could end up with a curveball here. Not going to get it, though, as we do end up banning Solus for the first time, at least in the matches we've watched here today. But that Azami ban still staying in pretty much every single game that we've had.
Why do you think they decided to ban the Solus this time?
Well...
Because I have 4 hypotheses as to why that might be.
Let's hear your first one. Actually, let's hear number three.
Actually, technically, that joke was inaccurate because 4 of those opening picks were on Goyo, for being fair. But you asked for reason number 3, and that was because they gave Canadian Solus, and on the dorms and on the meeting attack, he was able to harass the attack quite effectively in the early round and deny a lot of M80's drones. And sure, M80 aren't starting on the attack, but they will have to eventually. And I'd rather not deal with Canadian on Solus, and basically I would only have 2 to 3 drones by the time I go for the execute. By the way, stop the presses. One thing that we didn't mention so far, Monty is unbanned. As I mentioned, on Oregon.
Has immediately been picked.
Yeah, and probably like 8 other times on Theme Park and Oregon combined. It is immediately picked, as you said. Now, it could be changed. You always got to give that asterisk. You always got to let it simmer for a few seconds. But he is locked into Monty now. He's locked it in. It is medium rare, this Montaigne. And he has stuck it.
So indeed, the Montaigne immediately coming out from DarkZero. They've been winding themselves up for it all throughout this series and finally gonna get the opportunity to unleash it onto M80. Let's see if it finds the immediate results, as it's pretty much gonna have immediate play potential here from the outside, of course, of the snowmobile garage. Once they're able to get that open, it's a pretty easy push for him to make forward with the appropriate team support. Now, he's not gonna directly fling himself into it. They still need a little bit more control aside from that. Whether it's gonna be main stairs or counter pressure from Blue/Wine, but either way, they've got plenty of time to work towards it now, as you can see, the wall is already done and dealt with quite quickly here. And that shield, I think, is going to go to. Ooh, oh yeah, just got it.
That's a great catch early on as well. A lot of the times we'll see teams go for that shield once they start dedicating themselves to a wine execute, whether it be with a Rotero drone or with a frag grenade. But being able to get that so early on without actually establishing any control or presence inside of trench or wine is really good. Now you can challenge that pillar position a lot earlier, and, well, I would say with the nades, but there are none from DarkZero, so no grenades whatsoever, but still that shield being gone is very important, and NGR quickly moving to open up that wall as well. Now dealing with the angle will be a lot better, but 2 kills quickly occur on the map. 1 for DarkZero, 1 for M80, but to be frank, I think even with the amount of Rotero drones achieved and used, that still favors M80, because Spoy literally only had a gun, and that was it.
DarkZero going to be reeling a little bit from that. Important to note, too, that with the shield operator in play, that's one less, like, kind of viable gunner when it comes to the gunfight here as well. Canadian can certainly sneak out a kill or 2, but being an effective actual gunfighter is not really something that he's going to be capable of providing on the inside of this round. So that's another disadvantage they take by losing Achieved here. Either way, though, working their way into it, have already started to establish presence on the interior of the site. And Canadian, of course, being the one to waltz himself right into this, has put himself in a bit of an awkward spot now. Thankfully, still has the opportunity to retreat deeper into wine if he wants to, but at the moment just playing entirely for intel, hoping that he brings someone out, mainly the blue player, I think is what he's looking for right now, so that the one outside of Snowmobile can punish that player and hopefully open up a pathway for the rest of the team to move forward now. But Kino just not biting in the bait at the moment here. He's aware of the player outside of Snowmobile, so he knows that it would be pretty much to his demise if he tried to swing to take out the Montaigne.
Canadian also can't plant at the normal position because M80 still have control of the dining hatch, but that has now just changed. Iconic fling there is cut down. Gomez the only guy getting kills so far. Kino trying to maneuver himself around that deployable shield, but is not having nearly enough success. Was blocked off from Garage for time being, but Gomez has retaken blue. He's taken over control of that breach, and now it's Hatch in control of the attack. But the execute has shifted from Wine now to Garage, and the fortunes have shifted from M80 to DarkZero, who take a little bit to get the ball rolling, but once that Monty works his way from Wine to the opposite side in Garage, they get their first attack.
A little bit tumultuous for DarkZero to get things started, and very slow in the process of that as well. But as is usual for DarkZero, it's all building up to something great, it seems, as when that execute does roll out, M80 are quickly pinched out of any effective counter positions, and as such, DZ claim the round without too much contention coming in from M80. A few worrying moments, but that was about it, and they were just that, worrying, not actually really detrimental to the overall take. Just bled out some time from the bank, and that's something that DarkZero doesn't really need a lot of when push comes to shove, assuming they've done their prep work properly earlier on in the round.
Now you got Garage, which not the best site for the defense, but still one you're going to be happy to take to start out with the attack. Just start on a good note. Because when you move to Dining, which so far today has definitely been the main site for the defense, or at least in terms of comfort and preference, this is where you got to be careful. Especially around these castle barricades that defense usually has to use to deny positions like that bedroom window, because you see the castle barricade on that window right there. You've also got the single panel, which is arguably the more important one, because with a sledge, for example, which Achieved is running, you can break open that bedroom window immediately. But then you have the single panel, and that blocks off the main position that window is supposed to deal with, which is Blackwall, which can help take control of Piano or keep control of Piano, even if the attack is starting to get aggressive. And of course, the many other castle barricades and utility, like the ADSs, for example, that Kino has and is placed, be something DarkZero has to worry about. They always have Panbazoo. 3 kills so far, and a player on Nook. Panbazoo on Nook is a combo like peanut butter and jelly, and if he gets close to the site, M80 will be in for a world of hurt.
So the drones working their way forward here. DarkZero still establishing that early round intel that is so useful to them, of course, to build up that massive bank and then be executed upon inside of the late round. M80 will look to get into the way of that, but because the drone presence is so spread out across the map right now, it's difficult for them to also achieve anything themselves with regards to their kind of aggressive plans they may have had to start this round out. It's, like I said, just very difficult to find a spot to execute any of that aggression upon. You do have to respect the clear from DarkZero, and that's exactly what M80 appear to be doing right now. Just sticking to the extremities of the site itself and the immediate area above it. Not really looking to try and control anything aside from that.
Now the move to open the wall once they disable those bandit batteries. It was actually a bit of an interesting situation. Can you get a nade over that wall? I always forget. Sometimes I confuse the walls that the reinforcement goes to the top, and the other walls there's just a slight gap up above. But either way, they have plenty of frag grenades to deal with. I believe getting word that you can. Shout out to Schreikel, telling you what to do. Not shout out to Spoit though, because he just shot Panbazoo, but Achieved might be able to get this trade. But Spoit knows someone is likely going to play this bathroom balcony position. Now DarkZero have to substitute for Panbazoo's play, and this time it'll be NJR. Lurking around West Main at the moment, because the top clear for DarkZero, they have the minimum. They've established heaven control, but M80 still have all of their utility and all the players on the top floor who can retake 3 to, well, basically 3 and likely less once DarkZero commit to this execute down below. The bandit batteries are gone, that's great, but if they want to start moving in, something's got to give, whether it be utility for M80 or kills for DarkZero.
As they work their way up, Iconic gonna strike first on the round overall here, taking down Canadian. We saw an earlier kill also picked up by the M80 defense. The drop forward, but it accidentally dropped someone from M80, and there's like no reaction from Iconic at all. NJR just picks up the kill anyway. Nicely done from him either way, although it's a very awkward gunfight, of course. He will go down pretty quickly after that. Gomez finds the immediate trade. Gavini able to still put this plant down to the ground, or at least that's the hope, as he's now the last one standing here. Everyone except for him has gone down, and he's gonna try to hold this in the 1v3, but cannot maintain. M80 immediately retake the site and their first round along with it. So we're gonna go 1-1, and there we go. There's the LOLs in the chat roll what went on there between NJR and Iconic.
There have honestly been a lot of things that have happened this stage where I'm like, I've just never seen that happen before. Like there was Yeti like in T3 in like a 1v2 holding down diffuser. Never seen that before. We had I think Canadian getting 4 opening picks in a row. Haven't seen that in a while. And then we have an Amaru going up a hatch and then literally trading places with it. It literally looked like Iconic didn't even know what was happening. Like, he just stood still once it happened. He's like, huh? Which is exactly what
teleport?
Like, did I just, like, glitch through the floor? Like, what is this?
I like, couldn't really see it for the swords. I don't know if he was on drone or not. That was, like, the only thing that, like, I was confused about there is, like, did he just get caught on cams and got dropped down, and that's why he didn't react at all, or what exactly happened there? But either way, really confusing probably for both of those players.
Yeah, no, it was, that was certainly a bizarre sequence of events, but a fairly quiet round for DarkZero overall. Just good for M80 staying in their positions, especially Spoit getting that kill on Panbazoo early on, because it put DarkZero in a tough spot. It had been a fairly slow attack, they hadn't gained a lot of control, and M80 still had all of their utility in pocket. Just play your positions, and if they push in, use your utility, and you'll win the round.
RX tie game so far here. M80 obviously looking to take a little bit more of an advantage as he moves back over towards Bar, but at the same time, this can be a straightforward sight for the attack if they're able to accomplish that very lengthy checklist in the mid-round, getting that library control, opening up the top downs, and will limit the defensive options greatly. But once again, as we have been seeing, at least the other matchup we went to Chalet on, that can be a bit of a time constraint for teams. DarkZero wastes too much trying to clear out other parts of the map, or just not able to steal that library control quickly enough. They may not have a choice and have to flood downstairs anyway. That's where M80 will gain a lot more control back inside of this scenario. Either way, though, into the round we have gone, and DarkZero, as you might expect here, taking the slow road to things in the beginning of it. Gavini trying to sneak that drone in as far as he can before it gets taken out by the laser gate. Not really much to be spotted, unfortunately, though.
No, and he might try to get a nade into that sort of death position inside of library as well. You see the Jaeger playing right now. Normally this wastes about a minute, maybe longer if there's a dock on the board, but there is no dock right now. And yet, Kino remains. He's not looking to give this up too quickly, and because he hasn't faced any of that pressure yet. So he does have to be careful that once those nades start flying in, he's able to get to safety in time. He has Gomez for support as well. Spoit also getting very aggressive on the office doorway. And M80 facing a similar predicament to last round, which isn't a predicament at all, really. They're just playing their positions. They're getting aggressive in some spots, but not that much. What they really need to do is spot players like Panbazoo, who might walk up a staircase and catch them off guard, because that is what DarkZero seem to be basing these clears on so far, is Panbazoo or somebody else able to get some kills, and maybe in a position like Bedroom, might just find one.
Kino with the first pickup of this round, but immediately losing that advantage. He runs right in a Claymore there, so gets traded back out, brings us down to a 4v4. Good pre-placement from M80 to at least punish that bit of aggression coming out from the defensive side. Canadian will just regroup with the rest of the team here and now start the formation together and begin working on getting that additional clear to the inside of library. But there's a bit of hesitation in wanting to do that for good reason, as the extended setups are still very much alive and well here. Panba is nearby, ready to potentially punish that, but there's an additional assist waiting on the blue stairs area. And Spoit, but Panba ready for that challenge, outwits the man, the myth, the legend, as Spoit goes down. And as well, Gomez will be overwhelmed by utility. So it's a clean opener from DarkZero, just losing NJR from that earlier fight. Other than that, though, no one has gone down yet.
No, Iconic will sit down below, but with 30 seconds, he's put that C4 on the hatch, unfortunately. So it's going to be a very specific locale in which that can be used, but DS Lucas holds a power position. If DarkZero drop down this hatch, DS Lucas is in the position to deal with it. Those smokes likely blocking off his angle, though, so DarkZero can still win this, and DS Lucas and Iconic might both be in for a world of hurt. Yeah, I was right.
So DarkZero do end up shutting it down at the end of the day, following through on the earlier successes they find inside of that round, and are able to take control for themselves. DZ getting a good foot forward here so far against M80. A little bit of resistance has shown up from M80, but only on that one round. Other than that, though, it is a 2-1 lead indeed for our attackers at the moment, looking to carry that forward as they go back over to Wine and Snowmobile for the upcoming round, where they already, of course, had found success back in round number 1. So the first of the reruns beginning now.
Defenders, protect your bombs from
What are
being
they talking
defused
about?
by attackers.
I think that was about the Clay. Yeah, they're talking about the Claymore.
Claymore.
I've missed the first message and what it said, but they were talking about the Claymore.
Gotcha. I want to be appraised of the lore. I want to make sure I keep in track of what's going on. Also, if you notice in that match, right as Panbazoo gets that kill library stairs, execute goes. It's a little... I mean, it's good when Panbazoo's shooting. He's 4-2 right now. In this round, I will send Garage with a little bit of an exception. So far on Dining and seemingly on Baron games as well, DZ have spent the first minute and a half in a bit of a tricky position. Then Panbazoo gets a kill, and suddenly everything is all good. Everything is better. This was a little different. They were able to open up Garage Wall extremely quick and spent a lot of time dealing with the white pressure. Now they were able to deal with that deployable shield very early on with the Flores. John, there is no Flores anymore. There's no Flores to be found. Instead, there are 2 frag grenades this time. So they still have a way to deal with that, while also giving an operator to Pambazoo that I think will be a little bit more in line with what he's going for this map.
More of a direct insertion, I think.
Yes.
He's only on the Nook here, so pretty much can send himself anywhere on the map, as long as he's able to craftily move himself around there. With the silent steps, and indeed should be able to accomplish that quite easily. Speaking of easy things, Snowmobile Garage once again open in the first minute of play. M80 realized they can't really do much to stop that with the operators that are in the pool, and they don't want to actively commit someone there to bandit trick it, so just not going to be in the cards for them to stop that. And that'll be one pathway open. The second one already being worked on as well. As we can see, Canadian starting to work his way down in a trench with the Montaigne itself. It'll be supported by a few players. So they can also try to pop up on one of the walls to Wine, which will then, of course, give them full access to the site. Canadian, though, there's going to be a few obstacles sitting in front of them here, but they'll be very easily dealt with.
I think there's a Legion that way. Certainly a Frost facing NJR. Not only the player sitting on that breach now dealt with. Iconic is in a bit of a tricky position. He can't really get out of here, but he can have Spoit not only play the hatch, but also play West Main Stairs, as you saw, to help him out. We actually saw this from Beast Coast on Chalet earlier. Was vertical in this position, and I think Doc on West Main Stairs, but what they didn't have Pambazoo just walking down main stairs, getting a kill, and falling back. One player very aggressively dealt with, and the Monty has now made it to Garage, and this is the spot. Canadian started to put that bomb down.
Very quick switch up once Pamba got that entry as well. Big focus on Wine, which was the site they planted in back in round number 1, but they immediately realized it's going to be far too difficult to be able to properly pressure that because of this Legion holding the flank against them. Gavini deals with that Legion as Iconic goes down, but Gomez continuing to find impact on a roam upstairs here as he's just picked up a second kill on the round. Achieved, and now NJR now achieved, end up going down to him. So that control for DarkZero is present, but it's not secure enough, at least until this point. Try and go for the plant. Canadian attempts to throw it down on the ground. The nade is excellent as it knocks out not only Gomez, but heavily lights up another player. And the final 2 are cleaned up very quickly after that, as unfortunately the case being thrown onto the ground prompts a bit of aggression from our defenders, and then immediately ends the round.
All right, I want to talk about this execute, because I gave it 1 round just to like vibe check it, and then to wait and see. And now I've had it twice now, and now I want to talk about this, because it seems part of the execute that Canadian will just walk between sites as Monty.
Yep.
I was like, maybe that he was getting a little jiggy with it. Maybe he just wanted to rotate, do something different. But no, it literally appears that DarkZero don't take dining control. Don't deal with the dining hatch. Instead, the Monty just looks at it. They try and deal with the player in connector. So Canadian can say, turn his shield towards the hatch or dodge it in some way. They have Gavini play trench to make sure that nobody can rotate back. And then they also vibe check the site. They're like, okay, can we plant in Garage? Can we plant in Wine? Do we have to go back to Wine if the Garage play didn't work out? This is a very weird execute, but I really like it because of how weird it is, and also because just based on these angles, if you can control Garage and get a kill connector, you actually can do it, because all the defenders are either in blue, which you can dodge by walking through the Garage rotate, or upstairs, which you can dodge by looking at the dining hatch. So even though it's weird, it actually works out quite a bit, even though M80 are still able to get a few kills and make it a 3-3.
Yeah, once again, the 2 kills they're able to find, too, were like completely detached from the site take overall there. That was just like random roam kills that a member upstairs was able to find, as someone from DarkZero probably establishing counter to that roam and just not able to win the fight when it was thrusted upon them. But that roamer never really able to get enough of an advantage to completely pinch out the actual execute, so still holding it back enough in that regard. So DZ continue to dominate here, now leading 3-1 as we move into a kitchen hold from M80. They try to secure at least a 2-4 half for themselves by picking up this one. That has proven itself to be a very difficult task. DZ lights out at the moment, especially when it comes to the actual execute. That's leaving a lot of issues open for M80.
This is also, I believe, 4 rounds in a row I think M80 have gotten the opening pick. I might be wrong, but that it is at least what it seems to me, at least 3. And even if it's 3 and DarkZero got 1, it's still 3-1 DarkZero. So they've been able to bring back these rounds either in the mid to late round on Garage because of the Monty, or in this case, on Dining, not at all, because this is the 1 round that they ended up losing on the attack. They've looked in very good shape on most of the other sites, and what was problematic here, Pambazoo lurking early died, and NJR, who played a similar position, fell later in the round as well. So you're looking for Pamazoo to have a little bit more success here, which could be problematic. He's basically running headlong into the defense on this top floor, and M80 are contesting Library and Piano very heavily, so he'll likely need some support from one of his teammates, and it appears he actually has support now in Gavini, who I think I just saw, yep, moving to Library and moving to Mezzanine as well.
DarkZero once again moving swiftly along in terms of map control. Able to take quite a bit away from M80, but at the same time, M80 not giving up those important pinpoints just yet. Still looking for their own path to keep things aggressive, potentially get in the face of that clearance from DZ while they are still trying to set themselves up together. So just wait right now, looking for options outside of the Piano window and around the corner from Piano itself, but DarkZero not really giving a whole lot of that away, taking the slow approach to things as they've cooled off quite a bit from their earlier adventures in this series. They're now playing kind of the traditional DarkZero way that's been working out really well so far here in this half of Chalet.
And also the traditional, just kind of passive structured Chalet as well. You saw Pamazoo look in the Piano window for a little bit, but it's all angle play from DarkZero right now. Nobody getting too aggressive, and unfortunately for them, M80 are the kind of team where they will challenge you on those angles if you're just sitting and playing passively. But DarkZero, they've made their way into sight. Even in a 3v4, they could try to get the bomb down. This is always a difficult position. The man disadvantage plant, if you're not careful, the defense can overwhelm you with manpower and utility, but not in this case.
I don't think they knew what was happening.
Got away.
Canadian gets away with it, literally scot-free. M. Gavini picks up the equalizer, knocking out Kano as well. Achieved and Spoit go to battle against each other, but it's Gavini that finds the next actual pickup as Diaz goes down. Achieved, here's the run out by Ego, does not get tripped up by it. It's going to get even canceled by the member on M80 attempting to achieve it. Gomez, the next to follow here. Great follow through yet again from DarkZero. M80, you just cannot let DZ get this plant down on the ground. As past that point, they seem unstoppable in these rounds. Even from the 1v3 now, Spoit has an immediate challenger from behind the bomb chassis to take him down. It's Canadian that seals the deal on yet another round for the DarkZero roster.
4-1 now, moving up on their Chalet attacks. The one site they dropped so far, they've now got a win in. So where do you go, M80? Do you go to bar? Do you retry dining? Do you do something else? It appears they'll commit to bar, and they'll keep with their pattern of rotating sites permanently, or at least in perpetuity, probably the better phrase there. On bar as well, if you want to go all the way back to round number 3, which is 3 rounds ago now, DarkZero were struggling a little bit in the first half. About a minute and a half in, you had Gavini on Library balcony, but they weren't able to make much pressure. Player on office balcony as well, but they were just kind of stuck in their positions. And then Pamazoo creeps up from the basement, kills the player on Library stairs, and then all of DZ, like the Manchurian Candidate, literally just sit up and start moving, start going about their mission, and completely collapse on M80 and win the round at that point. And this is what M80 need to look out for. If they want to get their second defense, and on Chalet, that's fine. 2 defenses is perfectly manageable and perfectly workable. Be on the lookout for Pamazoo. Whether he creeps up from Library stairs or creeps into Fireplace, be on the lookout for him, because when he gets a kill or if he takes an engagement with you, that's when DarkZero are looking to hit the go button.
All right, it's DarkZero looking to set themselves up for yet another stunning execute against M80. M80 will have to, of course, find a way to get in of that setup process. As, like I said before, past the execute point, it just hasn't really seemed like there's much of a hope for M80 to really retake control over these sites, save for the one, of course, that they managed to pick up for themselves closer to the beginning of the matchup. It's been all DZ since that point, though, from entries and overall follow-through on the site. They're going to take a nice slow roll to things yet again, and this goes back to that kind of frustrating point for M80. We were talking about this on one of the earlier maps, is that, like, you can't necessarily do anything to directly get in the way of this when you kind of just have to let at least a few of the events unfold and then try to find a gap in the attack, as it were, from that point forward. That's just not something that's very easy for M80 to achieve at all when DarkZero are remaining pretty much entirely passive until, like, the minute-and-a-half mark at the absolute earliest. And it's just not leaving a lot of room for M80 to kind of modulate their play to account for that.
Gavini will throw in a drone. It's unfortunately destroyed. So if he wants to use a drone, it'll have to be the Yana clone. Pamazoo working his way downstairs. DarkZero seemingly setting up for something similar to before. If not on Library side, they'd be looking to pinch the defender inside of dining. Either bit of control would be very good for them. Obviously, the Library stairs position is a little bit closer to site, but there's nobody actually playing on the stairs this time. Whereas instead, there is not someone on the first floor like I thought, but there are 2 players on the top floor. So Pamazoo can work his way into dining, take this control, and then cut off anybody rotating back through Fireplace, or even trying to get a kill on Library stairs later on in the round, and seemingly with Canadian pushing into main lobby, this is the side that DarkZero really want to try to bet things on.
Canadian inching himself forward here, just trying to see more than anything if there is any players to be spotted on the lower ends of this setup through that doorway. And of course, over on the actual balcony itself upstairs, but not a whole lot to be spotted out. M80 are keeping themselves quiet for the most part here on this round. Spoit more than likely getting checked out by Canadians clear, but at the same time, Achieve gonna have some pressure ready to be thrown against him. It's Gomez get the opening kill this time, and it's against Canadian as well. So the Montaigne will not sustain all the way into the execute itself. Spoit does get down, but he's not finished off, and the same can be said for Gavini. Overall, only a 1-for-1 so far. It will become a 2-for-1 in the favor of DarkZero, as at least Spoit is confirmed. Gavini, still waiting to see what exactly ends up happening with him, but it looks like he's very much off on his lonesome, so I doubt he's going to be brought back up.
Only 25 seconds left as well. DarkZero have to consolidate. They have to start pushing on in. Achieved on low HP. Gomez is on reduced, sure, but Achieved is one bullet away from death. NJR Panba, somebody's got to go huge, and in this case, it's got to be NJR.
Down to the 2v2 now. See Diaz lining up for his shutdown. NJR not able to take it a step further than that. Achieved is all that remains here now inside of the 1v2, although NJR from the grave even picking up another kill with the Claymore, obviously, as that takes down Diaz. The 1v1, but no time remains, and oh no, there was a laser gate as well. He just gifts the kill over to him at the end of the round. So that is going to be a very anticlimactic way to end things.
Not the Claymore, not again. 2 defensive wins for M80. Again, not bad whatsoever on Chalet. There was a time, by the way, when a 5-1 half was not that bad for the defense on Chalet. So, like, 4-2, perfectly fine. You can work with it, because it's not like it's your map pick or your opponent's map pick. This is the decider. It's okay if things play out in a little bit more in a standard way. If M80 are going to be good on these attacks. They don't have the Ying, of course. They do have the Monty, which they also like to run. They also showed on Theme Park that they can just be very clinical in playing out these attacks normally anyway, which I doubt any of us really had any worries about. But if you were worried that for some reason that they were a Ying or Monty crutch, don't worry. If they don't even run either of those operators, or in this case the Monty, it should still be a fairly close match if you have a good one in mind. Master Betterment Office, first time we've gone to this site in this map. We saw somebody go to it earlier today, but the first time between these two teams. DarkZero will start off going here with the Valkyrie on the board as well. See M80 switch to the IQ in response, try and find some of that intel.
5 seconds to go.
M80 finally finding their footing at the very tail end of that half. They're kind of matching the energy of DarkZero, just not giving away any part of their setup, let alone their extension, until they were absolutely required to by the necessity of DZ pushing into them. That gave them a little bit more capability to fight back into things and still claim a second round for themselves to end out the half. Now they're on the attacking side there, where that aggression is all they have to worry about. Achieved looking to immediately get in the way of some of this, of course. Back over here on the side of Solarium, the Nitro lands, and it's going to do some serious damage, but it surprisingly won't get the full kill, at least not against Iconic there. He's brought down to just a sliver of HP.
He'll have to back off, though, lest he find himself suffer the opening duel. And indeed he will, as Gomez is the tip of the spear in this particular round. Iconic likely wanted to maybe get some utility clear with his teammates, but it seemed like just open up a part of the wall as well to pressure Bedroom, so not a big deal that he'll have to back off. As I was about to say, Gomez pushing through Library, but he's now literally on the opposite side of the map, going a completely different way, and it's Spoit, who has maybe found an opportunity to lurk down below. The site is not dining, but DS is the opening pick, and with that Dokubi call, he's heard somebody on Library stairs and knows that if Gavini gets aggressive, this is easily a 5v3 for M80.
Pick up just yet. Things are going to go very passive for both teams. Half of the round now gone away as well. M80, of course, taking that solid advantage for themselves with the opening pick, but need to be very, very careful how they follow it through. Looking to try and establish more control on the Solarium side. The Ash even moving over to join the rest of the squad, pushing for this direction as well, so it seems like it's going to be very one-sided. Trying to claim all that control from that direction. No secondary pinch being added. And this one is, thankfully, you don't really need it. You kind of get a secondary pinch just by having this rappel setup that Diaz is currently on. And you can expand that even further with full bathroom control, which is something that is very capable right now for M80 to do. Speaking of which, it looks like they're just about ready to at least attempt the initial execute, and they'll certainly be doing so with that pick, but there is an immediate trade to it. Achieved with the shotgun, waiting on the other end end of it, picks up the first response. Gavini gets a second, so we're even now. Back down to the 3v3. DarkZero potentially able to take control in a moment if they don't find a proficient way to deal with the shotgun player. Gonna try to pinch him out from the other side, but it's Gavini still finding those pickups over on bathroom side. Gomez, the most recent one to fall to it. And Spoit thought he could be sneaky on Achieved and close the gap. No, the gap has been closed on you instead, as Achieved just quickly pumps out one of the remaining attackers. And now it's just Diaz kind of awkwardly left on the rappel here. Was just meant to be kind of flank watch for a few of his teammates, but was unable to assist throughout the entirety of this execute. Now has to swing himself around, try to make a play on his own regard, but it'll be a 1v3. He's got intel on 2 out of 3 of the players, and can he make a solid guess about where the third one is positioned? But as you can see, once again, DZ not giving this man anything. The shotgun is finally killed, but the impact has already been made well long into the past here. No time remaining, and Gavini finishes things off with the final kill.
Love that little awkward conversation we saw between Sport and Gomez. Like, no, you peek him. You got it. I mean, dude, we know where he is. Like, you can win the fight. And he's like, no, I think you got it. You're in bedroom. You can peek the shotgun, and you should be okay. And fortunately, M80 not able to work around that position. And even with DS Lucas on that bedroom rappel angle, DarkZero's defense a little bit more solid. In this instance, is M80... Throughout the majority of that round, there was a time where I was like, all right, this is going to be a solar push. Oh, it's not a solar push. That's fine. It's still very early on. It's a library push. Never mind. It's not a library push. Gomez is now rotated back over to solar, and we're pushing up the stairs because they read something very important, which is that there was nobody on solar stairs. You could just move up, take control of dining, take control of trophy, move up the stairs. Problematically, even with the 5v3 they had acquired, that was all the control they really had. They didn't have a lot of solid pressure coming in from library. They didn't have a lot of solid pressure coming from solar either, because the other side had completely collapsed. So DarkZero start things off on a good note, and then if they get one more defense to match M80's record, unfortunately, it'll be match point for DarkZero.
So DarkZero still running the gauntlet at the moment, but nothing M80 can do. He's able to stop them, it seems. Just a few takeaway rounds here and there. The switch to the second half has not prompted any additional prowess to come out from M80 just out of the round. Getting a little bit closer. Just not enough to win it out, and that was certainly what was needed in that situation here. So we'll see if the sight chain potentially lends any more credence to the assault on M80's side. In the meanwhile, already prepped for his first kill if he has the intel. There's a player waiting for it just around the corner in blue, and that player was still in the midst of a setup a few seconds ago as well. Gonna self-drone himself forward for it, but he's checking the wrong staircase. He's going to the top side. Drone would have certainly heard that, so now he's definitely aware, but at the same time, pressure has come out from this attacking side. He's been able to knock out at least one member of the defense as DZ's Canadian falls down first.
Canadian gone, and M80, again, getting some very good pressure early on, some very good control as well. You've got to move up into Fireplace to open up that dining wall and likely move up short at some point as well, and they've been able to do that in the first minute. Gomez being the player to do it. He's also now creeping his way up main stairs. There are 3 roamers currently. One over by library stairs, one in piano, and one in office. The last of which they have hard pings on. They're all gauging their options. Which one do we want to pinch? The library stairs might be the easiest, but Spoit is now backing out, so that might not be the option. Instead, take the freebie given to you. Panbazu's gone for broke, and unfortunately, he's still caught with no change. Gavini's also now trapped inside of library on low HP. M80 know where this guy is, and once they get the kill, that's wraps for DarkZero. If they want to bring this back, they got to start taking fights.
Achieved and NJR, unfortunately, nowhere even near the sight hold at this point, and already one of the two is going to fall. Achieved trying to wrap back down through the trophy stairs. Shots coming out, but not connecting where they need to. And about to have the final bit of pressure thrust upon him here. Spoit able to close it down. It's indeed the flawless pickup from M80. So M80 maybe not done with the fight just yet here. Still a few more rounds need to be picked up by DZ, and the gap slowly being closed by M80. Just 2 rounds to go now to tie it up.
DarkZero extending quite far off-site to try to hold that top floor. We see teams often get aggressive against the players coming from library on master bedroom and office, but if we see that, it's normally from somebody holding, say, mezzanine looking into library. This time they did the library shield with the ADSs, and then also having the player piano and inside of office. The problem with that is, especially if you're able to get that kill and maybe Canadian early on, there's nobody that can really stop the player from lurking at mezzanine and then you just have to either swing and kill him or he kills you. He's going to have the bit of control the entire time, and Gavini is basically stuck on an island. So a little bit of a hole in that setup for DarkZero, especially if maybe Canadian, who would have solved that position or solved that problem, dies early. And M80 will exploit it and get a flawless round off of it. And DarkZero, try Garage for the first time on the defense.
10 seconds left.
And as we see M80 changing up quite a few elements of their attack, actually adding that extra hard breach into the fold. We've got the Thatcher coming out as well, and on top of that, like you said, the Monty has shown up for Kino. So we're going to be taking command of it, as we were seeing Canadian do the same thing for the same exact site attack, I do believe, as well. So you're going to be expecting a similar strategy to come out here from M80. Let's see if it'll be oh so bold as Canadian was, though, with his direct advances across the sites to try and gather both intel and a proper plant position in both of the attacks we had there in the basement.
Try and outdo Canadian at his own game. Of course, on the defense, Canadian has traded in his Montane Shield for a Pulse Heartbeat Scanner, playing above the site, but also in dining. Try to gain intel on anybody going for that full clear. Of course, more practically, he also has that dining hatch, which he's actually dropped down very early on. Maybe somebody could rotate up later. Yep, you see Panbazoo's on the top floor, so he can take that dining hatch position if he wants to later on in the round. And Canadian's also going to be a little bit more helpful from this spot. If M80 start pushing in, say the Monty pushes in, which they might not even know about right now, that C4 will be welcome company, the only C4 that the defense has right now. Vinny also working down West Wing to support anybody, to support Canadian in case he gets pressured from Trench, but he too is now facing some pressure. Panbazoo likely, as you see, will need to rotate over and support Gavini on the top floor. It seems, based on how many people are over here, some engagement's going to happen on this side of the map, and there you go. Gavini is the first to fall.
See a stack coming in here, but we'll touch it in just a moment. We still have some action unfolding here. Kino finishing off the frag onto Gavini. The spray coming back in there. NJR able to sneak off one. The Velo, oh no! It captures the Monty as well here. So Kino now down for the count. DZ with the advantage again, but still possibility to trade it back out. Spoit still very far advanced into the car garage here. It's actually going to be Diaz, though, to pick up the next kill itself with that 5.56, finding achieved and re-equalizing us yet again down to the 3-0.
This is where in the 3v3, these lurks are going to have their biggest impact. And just one kill in one position could completely change the game for M80 in round 9. Unfortunately, Diaz has found it. He's made his way into the site, but he's spotted on the bulletproof. Canadian has a shield, but as soon as he's blinded, he's got to win this fight, or Panbazoo's got to support, or M80 have the round. And it seems with Canadian in a 1v3, now in a 0v3, M80 will take their second attack in a row.
M80 making it work despite very, very tense situation heading into that one, but I love what they did. Slow things down after they get that initial control leading into Snowmobile itself and the closet next to it. They don't try to fully force themselves immediately into one. They take a step back, play big into the intel and drone game, figure out exactly what needs to be taken care of, and then they close the gap and shut things down, making it much cleaner there at the end and putting it very heftily into their favor. 4-5 is now the scoreline, and we get a much expected DZ timeout as they're about to lose their lead. So let's see if they can get some insight from the out-of-game leadership to try and change up that fate.
Yeah, I will say, in comparison to maybe a lot of tactical timeouts, we see a consistent problem, maybe not even necessarily M80 or DarkZero's gameplay, but just in a team's gameplay before they call a tactical timeout. I don't think it's been too worrying for DarkZero so far. You had the flawless round, which definitely was the most worrying loss that we've seen from DarkZero on these defenses so far. But I would even look in that round. Things only really changed when DS Lucas, sitting on Garage Breach, where you'd expect him to play, got a kill. Then at that point, M80 could push into the site. That was just a well-played 3v3 by M80. But there weren't a lot of warning bells or, sirens going off for DarkZero. They were still able to fight back in the early round, deny some of that initial control, especially NJR, and I think that was Canadian also flanking the player pushing up Trench as M80 started pushing into the round. Compared to a lot of tactical timeouts, I think that might just be a little bit of a mental reset. Not like, hey, we're doing this wrong, we're doing this bad. Just like, hey, guys, it's 5-4. Let's reset, take some time, play this next round.
They are also, of course, going to be able to return to a site which they've already claimed for themselves earlier on in the half as well. It's just been unlocked this round, so it's back into the office, where they're hopefully, if they're able to find that same degree of success, going to be able to repeat things and now set up round number 6 for themselves, which does guarantee at least the overtime. But once again, keep in mind, folks, we're not playing for points here, we're playing for the finishing result, I guess you could say. That is going to give you more SI points. I've talked about before, it's 130 versus 150, and as well, a $30,000 approximately increase to the prize pool that you'll be getting.
I don't know about you, but I like money.
Say it, yeah. It's great.
Just 30,000 bucks?
Spend it anywhere.
That's motivation for me to play. I don't know about these two teams. Maybe the SI points are a bit more. Actually, the SI points, actually, in all fairness, probably are a little bit more motivating here, especially as CJ mentioned in the broadcast, especially last year, sometimes just even 50 SI points can make the difference of qualifying at the end of the year and sitting at home watching another team lift the hammer. So playing for those SI points is actually a decently important thing to do early on in the stage, to set yourself a good little buffer early on if maybe you have a poor stage later on in the year. Match competitive in office, though. Not a poor defense for DarkZero. Quite an excellent defense, in fact. Was the one they were able to win so far. And Spoit entered the same position, moved up Mudroom, tried to find a kill, and now there's two players from DarkZero, not necessarily looking his way, but in a position that they could fight him off. Spoit will also throw a nade quickly that reveals his position. We'll likely see the DarkZero defenders react and start to consolidate around there, or at least be a bit more aggressive in their positioning.
Spoit with just some wild pre-fires as he works himself in towards the site right now. Shots working its way forward, but not going to be able to find it. So he backs up, gives a little bit more respect over to the defense, and will reset himself for a later point in the round. We do have a stat there. NAL, the defense is a 60% win rate on the Master Office that we've returned to. That's actually pretty heftily in DZ's favor, but as you can see, some struggles holding on to it right now as a one-to-one exchange occurs, and Gavani just walks right into Spoit, it seems.
Kills him. He kills Canadian.
Right?
That is insane.
Crazy. I was just catching up to the kill feed, didn't realize that, but that's next level from Spoit right there to still take Canadian with him as he goes down. Would love to see that from his POV.
I mean, yeah, that's
in the demo later.
That's ridiculous because DZ were playing trades ridiculously well. I mean, Canadian able to trade that out all the way from dining is very good. And then Spoit says, "I don't care," literally Spider, and just walks away, makes it a 3v2. And now M80. They can start moving in for the execute. NGR, of course, he's got to get aggressive, even pull out the super shorty just to add insult to injury, but still a 3v2. If Darks are able to fight back, this is a lot more manageable, but now, yeah, M80 are going to go for broke.
The ego challenge from NJR unfortunately leads to his premature death. Nitro out, but the player on the other side was given plenty of warnings, was able to avoid the brunt of the damage. Tries to jump out as well to really meet the challenge there if they'd stayed outside, but that just really seals it for DRC. He has full confirmation that player is still going to be in that doorway because of the hop out and hop back in. And as a result, it's a quick shutdown to bring the M80 back from the brink. And I believe tie us up now at 5-5. That sixth round is apparently not that safe from DarkZero. They are not able to secure it. And now it's whoever picks up the next two in a row that takes it. Or if we go 1-1, another overtime to settle the score.
I mean, a 4-2 defensive half on Chalet would not be, for both these teams, but also just in general, not the craziest thing in the world. So if it's going to be overtime, and it's going to be that, it'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm not shocked by this result. And what also would you expect? What else would you hope for? The final map so far, as we said earlier, the playoffs of the regular season before the LCQ. Get those $30,000, get that 150 SI points, but also make it interesting for us. Come on. That's what we could have. The penultimate round, somebody goes up to match point, whether it's M80 or DarkZero, somebody, after these 3 minutes, be one round away from a regulation victory. DarkZero will move to dining. John, this round was not particularly close, was it?
It was very one-sided in the favor of M80, taking control pretty much immediately away from DarkZero. We'll have to see if DarkZero kind of changes up their pacing at all, or looks to get in the face of M80. It looks like they have tried to kind of double down on that aggression a little bit since we played that round out, and that has caused a much slower take across the board from M80. But the difference is still noted in the fact that M80 is still winning most of these rounds here, so DarkZero may need to take another look at that. It is not finding the same effectiveness as they hoped it would from the change-up here. Spoit will pretty quickly try to move over, and we'll be able to knock out this castle barricade. Going 6, but is holding it back. I think wants to have a teammate here for security reasons, and there's no real reason why that wouldn't work out. So indeed, they'll group each other up, and I think go for the double knockout on these windows, it looks like.
Yeah, both looking to open up these angles at the exact same time. E1D goes in, flashbangs go in, do M80 go in? Well, certainly some bullets do, and Spoit does as well. 5-3, they've acquired piano control. They can now cut off the Jaeger as he rotates back. They lose Achieved as well. And as you said, beautiful. Well, honestly, arguably, John, I don't know if that quite cuts it, because they're likely about to go 5-1 as Gavini's completely blind. No eyesight available to him. He's not dead just yet, but he might as well be. And so are DarkZero's chances at match point in round 11.
Perfect execute from M80 here, not leaving anything up to chance, or rather leaving a lot to chance, but ends up playing into their favor anyway. Gavini now left alone after Kavizi just cannot respond to the sudden aggression that floods in basically out of nowhere, too. There had been zero pressure in the building up until that point, and it never ceased once it started. DZ not ready for the challenge, and they fall yet again. M80 first to map and match point.
First to match point, and just one more clean, quick execute like that, and that's a 7-5 victory. Easy as pie. Shouldn't be complicated whatsoever for M80. But does DarkZero have anything to say about it? That's the question facing us. They've only got one defense so far on this half. They'll go back to the site in which they were able to win it that one singular time. Master bedroom and office. But thankfully for M80, they don't necessarily need to change up the game plan too much. A lot of what they just did was clearing out master bedroom, office, piano. They shouldn't run it back, play for play, beat by beat, but they know they can clear this position very quickly and very decisively. So surely, now it's the site, and you just need to maybe move into library and maybe get some solar pressure as well. This should be the 7-5, unless DarkZero have something up their sleeves.
We'll see if that'll be the case. These, the last round was a one and done. I know they don't have to worry about a whole lot of repeats in regards to the strategy there, but at the same time, M80 has another trick up their sleeve. Could also deploy towards that here. End the game very quickly. Not very quickly, but quickly in relation to the potential overtime in a 7-5 closeout. Away from that, though, we do have M80 out onto the board. No surprises when it comes to their picks. They're not bringing out any huge wrinkles here for this round. And the same can be said for the defense. So once more, they're going to be rolling with pretty much the same lineup we've already seen utilized previously.
Gomez has been very lethal on this IQ so far. Not even necessarily the scanner or the utility play doing a lot of the talking, but the 5.56 is a weapon that he just feels comfortable on. He can get kills with and get away scot-free. Not have to worry about getting traded whatsoever. He's lurked up fireplace stairs, he's taken library control, but now a new spot is his muse. He's sitting over in Big Garage right now, looking to lurk up West Main, and Spoit has instead retaken his normal position, looking to move up those library stairs and take down Gavini, but this time Canadian finds Gomez. The lurker lurks better than Gomez. Now DarkZero have the advantage.
DarkZero up by one, but still a lot more progress to try and make here. As they once more have been able to retain themselves the early round advantage, but heavy casualty to Canadians' own HP. Still quite a few players in position to stop the outright clear coming in from M80, though, such as Spoit versus Gomez right now. Gomez, of course, more than ready for a challenge. He has all three of his ADSs sitting on the floor right there. Just to work against his own patience more than anything right now. Spoit is more than okay, it seems at least, to sit here and wait this one out. Gavini, in the meanwhile here, also waiting for an opportunity to frag, but now he's got two players pressuring onto him. Kino has been freed up with the elimination of Canadian. They've traded out the earlier advances from the defense. Phone call is going to come in as well. Flash forward. Like we said, though, there is 3 ADSs here, so it's going to gobble all of that up except for the final one. They realize it finally, and indeed, the Jaeger escapes the situation, but just barely, just dashes to the top of the stairs, going to try to waste out some of the remaining time bank inside of library, and will more than likely accomplish this task.
Bomb located by attackers.
Now he's got a player behind a deployable shield to aid as well. It is destroyed, and NGR will have to back off. Or Panbazoo, excuse me, but Gavini has intel. Somebody prone on mezzanine. They just back off, though. But that still means Gavini is alone. Kino, iconic. Most of M80 surrounding the Jaeger right now, and they don't necessarily need to kill him. They know he's here, and they know he can't leave. As they're looking forward, Gavini's still getting active. One player now needs to get this kill, but nobody can fight him. Diaz in a 1v4, not an unfamiliar position, but now he's got to deal with the Sultan of Library, and only now does Gavini fall.
Fortunately, it's too little too late, more than likely, from Diaz here. Going to try to clutch out the 1v3. Started from a 1v4, gets himself off to a good beginning to this clutch by finding 2 out of 4 of those kills right from the get-go. 13 seconds, though. Time is getting low, and unfortunately has missed the transition from the Warden on the other side and walks right into NJR's setup as well. So overtime is triggered. A true winner has not been found yet. We put 3 more rounds on the board to decide it instead.
Gavini says no. Gavini says not today to the God of Death, and might just win the NAL off of it. DarkZero starting on the defense, but unfortunately, this is the disadvantaged side so far. The ones that have been 4-2, 2-4, it's not like Theme Park where everything was even. This time, DarkZero need to make a very compelling argument. Master Bedroom Office has been so far the only site they have managed to win or come close on the defense, but instead of that, no. likely reading into the fact that those master bedroom rounds have been really down to the wire. They'll actually make the move to try something different.
Gonna work themselves down into the kitchen instead. We're going to see a couple change-ups to the lineup to correspond to that site selection. M80 may have a few repicks of their own, correspond to the same exact thing. We're already going to see that in slight regard from Diaz there. Here we go, a little bit more of a change-up too. Don't necessarily need the hard reach for this one, so they're going to ditch that, go to the Flores instead to deal with the extended and insight presence of all of that utility, which of course can be brought out in spades by the members of DarkZero. We got Frost Mats, we got ADSs, we got Capcan Traps, we have Mute Jammers as well. Quite a bit that can be taken down with proper positioning of those Flores. And that's alongside things like the deployable shields and whatnot.
3 bedrooms, no rows. Kitchen dining, as you said, so much utility. So much utility, guys. Gavini also, 15 kills. Only guy on DarkZero on double digits, by the way. How many on M80? There are 2. Gomez and DS Lucas, both on 13 kills and 14 kills, respectively. That is who Gavini will deal with, or duel with, on these defenses. Spoit also not having the best game so far. You can't deny that he's quickly trying to gather this control. He did the same in Mudroom, and he'll do the same in Library, but he's been stopped a lot of the time, or at least stalled out, and it's a similar situation here. But on 45 HP, and Spoit will often stay in these positions for a good portion of the round, but if Panbazoo's getting aggressive and wants to take that fight with Spoit, this is a great opportunity for an opening advantage.
No one finding it just yet, though, and now a minute deep into the round. Players are going to start itching for opportunities to try and make that first mark, but Gavini walks right into the crosshairs of Spoit. M80 claims that opening kill off of the back of Spoit's prowess, but can keep it that way. Still needs to push himself ever further outward into the actual hallway. He's alone currently in this advance, so probably he's going to cool his jets for a moment. Allow teammates to group up with him over towards the top of blue stairs before moving forward even more so. But despite that, Diaz also claims an opener way down below, as it was Canadian, it looks like, trying to go for a run out. Diaz more than ready for that challenge. He wins it out. So unfortunately, make a very frustrated Canadian at the end of this round.
And that Canadian death aside, this has so far been the issue with this strategy from DarkZero. NGR going down as well to a Selma charge to finish him off. But because you're extending so far by Library, Gavini was only able to win that one round to send us to OT from a huge individual play. He was still cut off. This is how the strat has normally gone. So once Panbazoo peaks, it's only achieved left. He gets a freebie, Iconic's vaulted into a Frost Mat, and he knows DS is on that angle, but a long fight like that with the SMG-11, you're not winning that fight, and against a frag grenade either, it's only match point for M80.
M80 playing lights out here on the first execute that they deploy themselves into for overtime. Nicely done. Now just one more round is all that is needed. They have 2 opportunities to do it this time, so better off than they were inside of regulation as well, or was very close to the wire the entire time because of the comeback they did have to try and make. Away from that, though, it's one more round, and of course we switch sides, so now it's M80 on the defensive end of it, trying to go for a kitchen dining defense against DarkZero's attack.
And this was their site that was much preferable to the other options. I believe it was 1 dining, 1 bar and game site that M80 won, so nothing subtly in their favor, but still one that they at least have a victory on the defense. Here as well, they're on match point. They have the win in their sails. It's basically a best of 1 now. A best of 1 round even. All you gotta do is overperform once. All you gotta do is get a Gavini level 3K, and bam, you've won the NAL. That's all you need to do on dining. But can DarkZero keep up the pressure? Panbazoo having a cool game. NJR having a cool game. Gavini, a lot of this has been brought back on the defense by him, not necessarily the attack. So for DarkZero, they're still looking for players like Panbazoo or NJR to show up this round, expedite things, and if that doesn't happen, the utility play in the structure needs to be on point because a lot of their usual performers and their star players in the attack aren't having the best days on attack, specifically.
Everything down to the wire now for DarkZero, and quite a few change-ups to try and facilitate a better execute. Most notably, of course, NJR bringing back the Amaru to add the Gara hook into the lineup here. It's not necessarily going to guarantee success, so it takes a lot of setup to be able to make a proper Gara hook deployment. And alongside that, we've not actually end up seeing the hook be all that useful. This hasn't been a gun that NJR has felt confident to go on to earlier on in the series. That could realistically be the main reason why he's gone this direction. But that stat, as you can see, though, the defense has a 58% win rate on the current site. M80 going to try and improve that stat a little bit. winning out this one.
They'd be very happy to add that percentage. Be the series if they do, even by 1 percentage point. It's not really sort of the minor objective at this point. The major is just stop DarkZero from winning a single attack in overtime. And maybe they can do it. NGR outside a trophy right now, looking, or at least DarkZero looking to acquire some solar control. Maybe cut off Spoit, rotating back, as he's really the only defender actually above Kitchen and Dining at the moment. They read into this. They have plenty of nades to deal with him. He's just on the opposite side of that door. Once they find intel and throw a nade on in, Spoit's got to be careful, but he'll make the smart decision. He'll back off. And oddly enough, normally it's master bedroom and office. That is where the defender retreats to. This time, it's actually going to be library, as all of DarkZero are stationed on this part of the map, and M80 are on the complete opposite side.
Gathering intel.
So with M80 going down, the wire once again as low as they have on time. Not feeling the stress from DarkZero's execute just yet. DarkZero taking an absolute eternity as well to make those first initial moves here. Just again, as they try to optimize their intel to the best of their own capabilities, but it's going to end up costing them once again. M80 still feel the confidence to make their own plays. We've seen Achieved be brought down to just that tiny sliver of HP now. As the advances made against him, and so many off-site obstacles are going to suddenly pop up once DarkZero are ready to commit themselves to the inside as well. This is going to be tough from DZ unless they've been able to scope out every single facet of this retake from M80, which I doubt they've been able to do as good as DarkZero tends to be on that intel game.
Oh, they still have Iconic down below as well. Panmizu creeping into the site. It starts off good for M80, though it's only short-lived and quickly regained.
Team kill!
Team kill as well. Really, on match point, that's when this is going to happen? You're going to bet it on Achieved on 1 HP, and Canadian basically in a 1v3 at this point. He's made his way into the site, and they'll go for the plant in the 2v3. I mean, what other options do they have? Nobody from M80 pushing. Smoke grenade late. They actually get the bomb down, but Achieved has made it up to the top floor on 1 HP. One bullet from any direction, up, down, left or right. That'll be it. 6 in the group stage. That doesn't represent the heights of this squad. With the addition of Spoit and Iconic, M80 win the North America League for the first stage this year.
And it'll be quite the effort from them as well, going to all 3 maps in order to achieve it. And on top of that, overtime in both of the maps they ultimately end up controlling. But it's a massive victory at the end of the day, especially considering what you just mentioned as well with their group stage placement. A lot of doubts of whether